Welcome back to Betrayal Files. Today we're stepping into a 3-year love story that turned into a nightmare, a tale where a hidden affair ignited a meticulously planned public reckoning. We'll walk through the early days of trust, the quiet red flags that went ignored, the shattering discovery, and the fierce, empowering response that followed. As always, we approach this with empathy, honoring the pain while highlighting the strength that emerges when someone decides to reclaim their life. Grab a seat, breathe deeply, and prepare to feel every twist of this raw, real-life drama. The party lights flickered, casting shadows over a gathering that thought it was about an engagement announcement. Instead, she rose, trembling, clutching a stack of printed messages. Her voice barely rose above a whisper as she said, "He's been cheating with a teaching assistant and my best friend's girlfriend." The room fell into a heavy silence. Laughter died, eyes widened, and the man's confident smile cracked into panic. In that split second, years of devotion collapsed like a house of cards, and the betrayal screamed louder than any music. The chill of shock ran through every vein, sealing that night with dread and resolve. They first met in college, bonding over late-night study sessions, shared playlists, and endless coffee runs. 3 years later they moved in together, splitting bills, dreaming of a wedding, maybe kids. She gave up a promising job, relocated far from her family, and funded their shared life while he pursued a demanding degree. Their future felt carved in stone, a house, a family, a partnership built on countless small gestures, morning coffee, surprise notes, quiet evenings on the couch. All of this made the upcoming betrayal feel like a violent tearing of the very foundation she had painstakingly built. At first the clues were subtle, his phone buzzing at odd hours, new passwords he guarded jealously, and an increasing need for privacy. He started citing endless study groups that never seemed to end, arriving home later each night. Friends mentioned his late-night outings, but she brushed them off as stress. Unexplained receipts appeared, a faint scent of unfamiliar perfume lingered on his jacket, and his answers to simple questions grew evasive. Each ignored warning was another brick added to a wall that would soon crumble under the weight of his secrets. One sleepless night, while he showered, she opened his laptop hoping for reassurance. The screen displayed a conversation filled with explicit fantasies, humiliating requests, and affectionate nicknames for 2 women. She snapped screenshots, tears blurring the words, heart hammering in her chest. The realization hit like a freight train, she was the unwitting victim of a calculated betrayal. The evidence was undeniable, the digital trail a stark portrait of a double life hidden behind his academic facade. Fury rose within her, eclipsing the lingering love, and the decision to act was forged in that raw, painful moment. She turned the party into a confession stage, distributing the screenshots to every guest, then handed him a notice to vacate the shared apartment. The next morning, she signed a job contract in another state, packed her belongings, and closed the joint account that had funded his studies. Though the fallout was public and painful, she reclaimed her agency, walked away with dignity, and began rebuilding a life free from manipulation. Today she lives independently, focusing on her career and personal growth, a living testament that betrayal can forge unbreakable strength and a fresh start. From heartbreak to vengeance, we now shift to a different betrayal that shattered a marriage from the inside out. This next tale explores the slow burn of deception, the quiet moments when trust erodes, and the courageous steps taken to reclaim a life once thought lost. Stay with us as we unpack another raw, real story of pain, discovery, and eventual empowerment. She opened an old photo album, expecting nostalgia, but a hidden receipt slipped out, a weekend getaway she never took. Inside, a plane ticket booked in his name, destination blank, sat like a silent accusation. The realization gnawed, he'd been living a double life for months, siphoning shared finances to fund a secret escape. The betrayal felt like a slow-burning fire, consuming trust and leaving her questioning every shared memory. In that quiet moment, the weight of deception settled like a stone in her chest, heavy and unyielding. They had built a comfortable life over 8 years, celebrating anniversaries, holidays, and mundane Tuesdays together. She managed the household, while he handled the finances, joking about our future plans. Their routine was predictable, dinner at 8, movie nights, occasional weekend trips. She trusted him with every bank statement, believing their love was a partnership of equals. Their story seemed ordinary, which made the hidden betrayal cut even deeper, shattering the illusion of a stable, shared future, and leaving her to wonder how long the lie had truly persisted. He started keeping his phone on silent, even during meals, and his laughter sounded hollow. Bills arrived late, unexplained charges appeared, and his work schedule became increasingly vague. A lingering perfume clung to his coat after late meetings. Friends whispered about his newfound interest in solo travel, but she dismissed it as a hobby. The accumulation of tiny inconsistencies built an invisible wall, each brick placed by his subtle lies, until the wall finally crumbled under its own weight, exposing the truth she had tried not to see. She confronted him with the evidence, demanding answers. He admitted to a secret relationship and a plan to leave. She filed for divorce, secured her own finances, and moved into a small apartment of her own. Therapy helped her process the grief, and she rediscovered passions she'd abandoned: painting, hiking, writing. Today she runs a community art class, channeling her pain into creativity. The betrayal remains a scar, but it also serves as a reminder of her resilience and her capacity to rebuild a life on her own terms, stronger than before. Our final tale reveals how a betrayed soul transformed anguish into purpose, finding peace after the storm. This story showcases the power of turning personal tragedy into advocacy, and how sharing pain can become a lifeline for countless others. Stay tuned as we walk through the journey from devastation to empowerment. After discovering her husband's affair with a coworker, she felt her world collapse. Instead of drowning, she channeled the pain into writing a blog about infidelity, hoping to help others avoid similar heartbreak. The first post went viral, and messages poured in from strangers sharing their own scars. Each story she read added a brick to her new foundation, turning personal tragedy into a beacon of support for countless victims seeking validation and strength. Her voice became a lifeline, echoing through online forums and support groups. They married after a brief courtship, believing love would conquer all. 6 years later, they bought a house, adopted a dog, and celebrated birthdays together. She supported his career moves, often putting his ambitions ahead of her own. Their evenings were filled with shared meals and quiet conversations, a routine that felt safe and unshakable. This stability made the eventual discovery of his betrayal feel like a sudden, violent earthquake, shaking the very ground they had built together and leaving her to question everything she once held dear. He began arriving home later, citing late projects, and his phone buzzed with unknown numbers. He grew defensive when she asked about his day, and his laughter sounded forced. Money disappeared from their joint account, replaced by mysterious withdrawals. Friends mentioned seeing him with a different woman at company events, but she dismissed it as a misunderstanding. The accumulation of these subtle red flags created a growing dread, a silent alarm that she ignored until the truth could no longer stay hidden, forcing her to confront an unbearable reality. She filed for divorce, reclaimed her finances, and launched her blog, Betrayal to Breakthrough. The site quickly became a safe space for survivors, offering resources, legal advice, and emotional support. Speaking at conferences, she turned her story into advocacy, helping reform counseling services for victims. Today, she lives independently, surrounded by a community she helped build. The pain of betrayal is still present, but it fuels her mission to ensure no one else suffers in silence, transforming personal loss into collective empowerment. Betrayal cuts deep, but every story proves we can rise stronger. If any part of these journeys resonated, share your thoughts below. Remember, you deserve honesty, respect, and the courage to walk away from toxic situations. Subscribe for more real stories every day, and never forget, you are not alone, and you have the power to reclaim your narrative.